Yes. Good evening, Reds. We are back. We're back with a new channel called Copped Pods. So give us a follow, like and subscribe on YouTube. Join us on Twitter. Welcome back, everyone. And most of all, welcome back, Ian. It's been a while, mate. Good to see you.
It's good to be back. It's good to be back in front of the camera. Sorry, everybody,
Sound,
for this.
so tonight's show, 40 minutes maybe at the outside, is about today's game. Obviously, a great result away at Watford. So we're just going to have a general chit chat about that. Feel free to join us in the comments. As I said before, like and smash the like and subscribe buttons. And here we go. Good result today, wasn't it, pal?
It was, Steve. It was, Steve. And you know what? I was on the show last week and I said somebody's going to get a hiding soon. And I know we'd just given Porto one, but I thought someone was going to get one in the Premier League soon. I didn't think it would be today because of some of the players you've got missing. But you looked at that today, and I don't know whether Klopp being fired up about the 12:30 kickoff has filtered through to the players, and they looked really on it today. They looked really like they had a point to prove today. Mo Salah he's like a man possessed right now. Just give him that contract and get it signed so I can get some sleep.
100%. So, what were your anticipations before the game, mate? What were you thinking was likely?
I thought it was going to be like a scrappy game because Watford are one of them teams that they're not a team I would ever call a bogey team. They're not that good. They don't take that many points off us. But every now and then they just seem to perform against us or make us look a little bit like they beat us 3-0 a year ago. They're that type of team. That's the type of team they are. So I didn't think they'd beat us. I thought at the best they'd get a point out of us, but I thought we'd win. I was 90% sure we win, but I thought it'd be harder work than what it was.
100%, mate. So, the team-wise, obviously we knew we'd be without Alisson and we knew we'd be without Fabinho. What did you think of the lineup when that came on, when we saw the team sheet?
I thought that we might have rested Van Dijk today because he'd been playing 2 games for Holland in midweek, and I know one of them was against Gibraltar. Well, he still had to spend 90 minutes on the pitch. So I wouldn't say I was surprised, but I wasn't 100% certain he was going to start. It was good to see Trent back in the team. He looked good today. Surprised Robertson started after his excursions with Scotland. I thought Simicast might have got a run out today. Well, he did, but he got like 20 minutes. Apart from that, it was pretty much what I expected. I thought Chamberlain might have got a game today, and with Keita playing 3 games for Guinea and Milner starting ahead of him, I don't think there's much of a future there for Chamberlain at Liverpool. I thought if he was going to get a game at any point, he was going to get a run out in the Premiership. I thought today would have been it with the likes of Thiago out and Fabinho out, and I feel a bit sorry for him because before that injury, mate, he was going to be a player, and I don't know whether it's a lack of confidence in himself. I don't know if it's a lack of confidence in Klopp playing him. I'm just not sure, Steve.
I think I've said this before, and I said this recently. I think because we've now gone back to playing with the high back line, pushing it right up the pitch, squeezing play. At times today, our centre backs were in the centre circle, and sometimes even more advanced than that. I think that shuts down the space that Oxlade-Chamberlain wants to pick up the ball and run into. If you think back to that form he showed before the injury in the Champions League, he was picking up the ball and driving into spaces because it was rock and roll football. We were playing in a different way to how we play. I've said to you many times, we were really clever in the way we use VAR. We still are really clever in the way we use VAR, trusting that we'll pick up those things. Although this new put the flag up whenever it suits you thing is going to give a few of us a heart attack, isn't it? I think basically, mate, he's suffering by the fact that we're compressing the space in their half, and certainly in the final third. And I think that's been a little bit of a problem for Keita too. So for me, it's been. I just don't know whether I'm with you. I just don't know whether Oxlade's got a future at the club, mate. I think he's a great player, but he needs game time. Players like him are confidence players that need to play off the back of not missing games. I mean, we talked about Origi 100 times, haven't we? Where we've said, the guy comes on for 9 minutes every other week, and he seems to be happy with that. As a footballer, I couldn't do that, and I don't think Oxlade-Chamberlain does that particularly well either. So, I'm with you, buddy. I think that's been a difficult one for him. That was if he's not going to get a game today, you do wonder when he is going to get a game, don't you?
Well, to be fair, he had that space today. I thought there was a few times where he was running into the space, but he kept running down blind alleys. He kept running into defenders, and I was thinking, 18 months ago, he would have turned and passed that out wide, or would have come back on himself. His confidence just looks shot to me. I mean, I know he had the important pass to set up Firmino's third goal. I think it was. I think he winged it to Williams, but it looks like this guy's so short of confidence. And somebody put it up today, because when the team sheet came out, I put up, I think Chamberlain's done at Liverpool now. Somebody put up, do you reckon he could be going to Newcastle? Because that's where his missus is from, isn't she? So he could be an interesting first signing for Newcastle United under these new owners. I mean, we're not going to get lots of money for him, but he'd be a 15, 20 million pound English buy, wouldn't he, for them?
Yeah, he might be what they need, because we don't want to get bogged down on the Newcastle thing, but it will come up from time to time. They're not suddenly going to go out and buy 11 world-class players. I think they've got 2 years to spend as much money as they like before they come under FFP regulations. They will have to do it in stages. They'll have to improve their side in one transfer window, buy a couple of big names in the next transfer window, so on and so forth. They're not suddenly going to bus ride 11 superstars into St James's Park the day the transfer window opens. So there's a bit of work to do there. But the point being that we think Ox could be an opportunity to go there. Yes, I think West Ham might also be an option for him, and probably better suited because he's nearer his family. Newcastle is a further step away from sort of the city like to London, isn't it? Where his family are. So it'll be interesting to see. But as I say, if he's not getting a game today, you look at it and you think, when is he going to get a game? Is he going to be happy playing Carabao and FA Cup fixtures only? I'm not sure he is. Or if we qualify a game early in the Champions League to give him a run out in the Champions League, I don't know. I don't know how he feels about that. I don't know if that works for him. So difficult one for Ox. You tweeted it. His time's done. For me, it feels like he's not getting a game today. He's not going to get a game next week or any time soon. So in terms of where Watford disappointed us, let's be honest, right? So I, through the week, thought to myself, new manager bounce, Claudio Ranieri is a character, he'll lift the dressing room. I thought they were awful, mate. What were your thoughts on Watford?
I just don't think they turned up. You know when I say sometimes Liverpool lose points because sometimes they think they won a game before they've gone on the pitch. Watford knew they'd lost today before they went out on the pitch. That's how I felt today. They felt like it was they had no chance. I think Danny Rose, and I ain't picking out players for poor performances, but Danny Rose may have had the worst performance I've ever seen and not be took off. Normally a performance like that, you're hooked. You get an hour at the most. I was waiting for him to get brought off, and it just didn't happen. It was just almost as if he'd watched Milner against Foden a couple of weeks ago and decided to outdo him.
Yeah. Big up to Doug for joining us this evening. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Always a pleasure. Catch Doug and I on Grounded Football on Monday nights. Ian will be joining us soon, but thanks for joining in, Doug. Thanks for the comment. And yes, mate, what a great result, 5-0. You'll never walk alone, 100%. So in terms of we have to talk about him, don't we? We have to talk about Mo Salah and his contribution today. Let's start with the assist. What were your thoughts on the assist?
That was like Steven Gerrard against Fulham for Daniel Sturridge a few years ago. There was because the best thing about that pass was the pass was great. Don't get me wrong, the pass was absolutely perfect. But the strength he showed to turn Danny Rose. I mean, I know Danny Rose had one of the worst games ever, but the turn and the pass was almost in one movement. It was absolute magic, Steve. And it looked effortless. It looked like he was doing it on the training ground. It didn't look like he'd broken sweat when he did it. It was a surprise to me. I was waiting for a flag to go up or something. It just seemed it was that easy. I was just thought that can't be that easy, surely.
Very hard to do when you're under pressure physically by markers to put enough curl on the ball. The curvature of the ball, sort of around the run of both Mane and the defender, was really good. And he gambled on the fact that Mane would get there first, because if that central defender was quicker, he could have cut that out. But you know, Craig Cathcart is a bit of a journeyman, isn't he, in terms of football? No disrespect to me, he's playing in the Premier League. I'm not, so I can't knock him. But at the end of the day, you back Mane, don't you? Well, Salah backed Mane to get there first, so really positive, and a great finish as well. And you know, let's put this to bed. You and I both said last season was an aberration and should be forgotten and never mentioned again. It was a one-off. It was not an indication of where Liverpool Football Club are, and it really wasn't. Mane is back 100%. He's got, 6 goals already this season. He doubles that. He scores more than he scored last season. The 3 of them up front are scoring goals. That's only a positive, isn't it?
Oh, it's massive. And I also think that Mane, like Firmino, needs to play in front of the ground. I think them sterile, empty stadiums did neither of them players any favours whatsoever. Bobby Firmino plays up to the crowd. You see him when he scores a goal. He's not bothered about the players. He doesn't want to celebrate with the players. The first place he wants to go to is to the crowd. Bobby loves that crowd, and he plays for the crowd. And let's be honest, as bad as Liverpool's season was last season, Steve, finished third. It wasn't like we finished sixth and we finished terrible. It wasn't like we were mid-table last season. We had a horrendous 2/3 of the season and managed to claw it back and get into third, and we're still unbeaten from like 10 games gone from last season. So it was a freak season. It was a freak season with injuries for us. Like you look at what's going on now with United, and United were potentially losing 2 centre backs. Apparently Maguire had no chance of making today. I bet they wish he hadn't now. And all we heard about was their injuries all week. Yet last season, when we lost 4 centre backs and we're playing 2 midfielders as centre backs, all we have to listen to every week is, well, every club gets injuries. Part and parcel.
Yeah. I'm gonna play a bit of devil's advocate there. I know a few pretty high-profile Man United accounts through other podcasts, and they've all come out this week and said, now's the time to prove what we're made of. Don't forget, lads, Liverpool came to Old Trafford with Nat Phillips and Reece Williams, 1-4-2. So no excuses. So it's only the wet wipes that come out there, mate, and say, you know, oh, we got injuries, because I'm not going down that road, mate, describing how many central defensive partnerships. It's done, it's finished, it's gone. We got through it. We got into the Champions League. We finished third when we were allegedly 5th or 6th in a 4-horse race. We finished third. So brilliant, you know. But now we're different. Including the last 10 games of last season, there's 17 games unbeaten in the Premier League. And you do have to include the games last season because our team is built on momentum and intensity. And you only get that from winning game after game after game after game. So when they're back in training ground, they won't be talking about this season. They'll be talking about the run that they're on. I read earlier it is his biggest winning streak Klopp's had. I think it's something like 20-odd games now. And it's as much as goes back to like 1996 under Roy Evans, when we had a ridiculous start to the season and then fell away dramatically in the second half of the season. Klopp's on one of his better runs as a manager. And like you said, mate, we're back. We're absolutely back. We are 100% in this title race. We will be there in the shakedown at the end of the season. I firmly believe that. So obviously we've spoken about the assist. Now it's time to talk about Mo Salah's own personal goal of the season competition he seems to be having with himself. Ridiculous. Talk me through that, buddy.
It was like Mane's goal. I was waiting for something like a flag to go up or something like that. I was waiting for something to rule it out because it just seemed unreal. It seemed too easy for him. I loved his interview after the game as well, where they asked him, "Was that the best goal you've ever scored?" And he went, "Well, what about the one last week?"
Yeah, 100%.
Mate, There's no arguments. Right now, Mo Salah is the best player in the world. I don't care about Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. Well, they're all very good players. They're all at the peaks. I get that. Messi and Ronaldo are generational talents. I get that. But right now, on form, there is no better player in the world than Mohamed Salah.
I can't disagree. I think you're 100% correct. You know, Messi's still finding his feet at PSG. Showed a few glimpses of it with a couple of really good goals against City in the Champions League. But Messi and PSG were awarded the most ridiculous penalty against Angers to get them out of jail in League One over on Friday night or Thursday night. So that's not really started for him there yet. Ronaldo, I know Manchester United fans that are saying Ronaldo's holding the team back and you should never have signed him. Seriously, that's what they're saying. And I can see that because that's how Juventus felt as well. So his quest to be the leading goal scorer of all time is admirable. His career is admirable. But is he now in the twilight of his career thinking about him rather than the team? I don't know. Maybe that's unfair to say that. But I get your point. Salah at the moment is the top player in the world in form. He's doing it every week. He's been doing it every week for years, mate. It's not like this season he's decided to turn up. He's been... You know, he's a 5-season wonder now, isn't he? So, you know, this will be... I expect him to go close this year. This could be a third golden boot and almost a golden boot in 4 seasons, which is ridiculous. You know, his numbers are as good as anybody's. And when his career's done, Sky Sports do a little show saying, you know, top goal scorers in Premier League history. Mo Salah's at the top table. Mo Salah's in the same conversation as your Thierry Henrys and your Alan Shearers. Absolutely is, mate. 100%. His numbers are insane.
Do you get the feeling now, Steve, that he's not been getting the credit he deserves for the years he's been at Liverpool now? And this year, it almost feels like, through gritted teeth, the people who've not wanted to give him credit, certain people on Sky and certain people on BT and all these media people, now got to go, yeah, we've got to say how good he is now because we can't deny it now. He's in his 5th year, and it's almost like they don't want to do it, but it's like we can't have him in these conversations anymore now because he's doing it again. A lot of people would have expected Salah to move on as well. I think like Gary Neville was saying Salah will go. 2 years ago, he said Salah won't stick around, and I think I'll be honest with you, Steve. I'm pleasantly surprised at Liverpool because of what's happened over the years. In general, Liverpool don't keep the players like that. And that's why over the summer, when we weren't spending 15, 60 million pound players, 15, 60 million pounds on players, and we were nailing the likes of Van Dijk down to new contracts and Fabinho down to new contracts and Alisson's down to new contracts, I was more happy with that, the signings coming in, because in general, when Liverpool have talent who are that good, as those 3 players I've mentioned, plus Salah, we tend to lose them to bigger clubs. It's not nice to say, but in the past, that's what's happened. And the fact that we've kept him for so long and potentially having 5 years and maybe even more out of him, it's unbelievable. It hasn't happened for us in the past 20 years, Steve. And it's something we should be happy about. Very happy about, especially if he signs a new contract.
Which he will. He will sign that contract. He's not going anywhere, mate. He will sign the contract. And that's interesting because he'll get the money he deserves. And people say, well, the rest of the people in the dressing room must know how much more he's contributing to the rest of the team. And to some degree, I would agree with that. What will happen is when they do their renewals, that will change what they're asking for. And if we sign marquee players, so let's say we go and sign Rafinha from Leeds, he's not a marquee player, we'll get him on the same money as the rest of the squad. But if by some crazy twist of fate we ended up going buying like a Haaland or somebody like that, they're going to want Salah type of money, if not more. So this change in the club, this contract for Salah, which he will get 100%, there's no chance Mo Salah walks away on a free. This contract will be signed. Then going forward, our wage structure changes forever, and it's not a bad thing because it will allow us to compete. Because at the moment we look at the money the players. Look what Trent was on before his recent contract extension. He was on the money of like a Leicester player. No disrespect to Leicester, but Leicester haven't won the Champions League and the Premier League in the last 3 years, where Liverpool have. So the money situation will change quite a bit. So back to the game, because I don't want to get stuck bogged down in those things. That's for another conversation. Highlights of the game for you. What were the things that stood out for you that Liverpool did well?
The pressing game was back, Steve. That was what was missing last year. And I think that again was had something to do with there being empty stadiums, because the crowd push you on for them. The crowd push you on for that pressing. The crowd get behind you. Your manager tells you to do it. There's a plan in place, but you know from you've played football, Steve, you need that bit of an extra push to get you doing, especially for 90 minutes. It's hard to press the way Liverpool do for 90 minutes, so you need that behind you. A lot of people used to talk about how important the home crowd is for Liverpool. I think our away fans sometimes get missed out on a lot of credit. Did you know how loud they were today? And they're like that every single week. Whether they're getting beat, whether they're winning, whether it's a poor game, the away fans, personally, I think the noise they give, considering how few there are there, I think the away fans at times are probably better than the home fans, because the home fans can be a bit quiet at times. I think so. The pressing is back for me. That's one of the things I've always loved about Liverpool's Klopp team, is the pressing. We were 4-0 down. We were still chasing balls around the pitch. There was no. Don't want to get injured because I want to play against Atletico Madrid. We were playing like we were 1-0 down and we needed to get another goal and we needed that ball. The intensity's back. For me, and I know it sounds like a broken record, but having the fans back in the stadium is so important to Liverpool as a team and as a club. And it was something I said last season over and over again. When we have our full crowds back and when we have our full stadiums back, you'll see a very, very different Liverpool FC.
Totally agree. We're not allowed to be passive, are we, by the fans? They won't allow us to be that. I do think we missed the fans massively. I think for me today, you're quite right. There was an incident of 71 minutes where they brought a sub on called Pedro somebody or other, and he picked up the ball and he went from the centre of the pitch to his left. And Henderson and Keita tracked him and took the ball off him on the line. Now, they don't need to do that 4-0 up after 71 minutes, but they did. And the commentator made a point of saying this is a difference, not just the quality, but Liverpool want to play, Liverpool want the ball, and Watford look like they don't want to be there. And that was the difference for me. And that is so hard to do. That is so hard to maintain that over 90 minutes. So that goes down to the coaching staff and this notion that Liverpool players would run through a brick wall for Klopp, because they would. Absolutely, they would. That is all about the instructions they're getting and the willingness to do it. So I look at the two clubs today, and obviously Liverpool and Watford are worlds apart in terms of their ability. But Watford are playing for a new manager today. Watford are playing for the places, playing for their futures, because he will do a bit of dabbing. He's already brought Nicholas and Kulu in on a free transfer, who's had quite a good career for Torino in Serie A. So they would really have wanted to go out there today and shown the boss what they could do. This is really important not to get this twisted. I've said this before. Kasper Schmeichel came out and said when Liverpool beat Leicester 4-1 at the Vitality Stadium, that's what it's called, I think, Liverpool bully you, make you play the way they want you to play, and there is nothing you can do about it. And it's really hard and it's really frustrating. And right now I'm really fed up because we couldn't do what we wanted to do. That's exactly what Liverpool did to Watford today. As good as Liverpool or as bad as Watford were and vice versa, Liverpool within 30 seconds had settled into a pattern in that game. Watford didn't touch the ball for 2 minutes. So straight away, you're getting inside the head of the Watford players and they're thinking, this is going to be a long afternoon, because these guys are up for it. First goal goes in and I'm sitting there thinking, we absolutely need a second goal before half-time, because it takes away the conversation at half-time that says, guys, one set piece, one free kick, one corner, anything gets us back on track with these guys, will be level, and then I want you to grow from there. So you've heard the phrase, the next goal is really important. But we got that goal prior to half-time, and I think Watford came out of the changing room as deflated as they went into the changing room. He's got a massive job on there. Obviously, what he did at Chelsea and Leicester goes with a lot of respect. This is Watford. This is not Leicester. And this is not Chelsea. So we were great today. We made Watford play the way they did, and they did contribute to it by not playing for their respective positions and for their new manager. There was no new manager bounce at all, was there?
No. And you know what? There's one player from our team I feel really sorry for today because if we hadn't won 5-0 and it had been like 2-1 or we'd won 1-0, Kelleher would be getting the utmost praise for that save he tipped onto the post today. That was an absolute worldie. And even Terry only stayed on it for 20 seconds without even talking about it. I was like, when it hit the post, has he just saved that? I mean, you can say it was at the near post date, but that was an absolute cracker of a shot to the fella hit. And to get down, because he's a big guy, Kelleher, to get down as quickly as he did to tip that onto the post was absolutely brilliant. And I made up that he came in today and he kept a clean sheet as well. That would been a massive boost of confidence for Kelleher today.
100%. And we've looked at Allison's training program before. You and I have discussed this on previous pods we've done, and it's quite intense and it's quite physical, and it concerned us because it allowed him to pick up injuries. What Kelleher will be learning is how to move your feet quickly, because Allison's quite a big fella, but he's got like twinkle toes, hasn't he? He
Yeah.
moves his feet really quickly to set himself for the save. I think there's a crazy stat that I think it's been 1-on-1 7 times this season because players have made a half break and he's saved them all. So what Kelleher will be learning is lots of lots of Allison's attributes, not Adrian's, by the way. Lots of Allison's attributes to move his feet quickly to make important saves at vital times. And you're right, that will only help him going forward. He's cemented himself as the number 2 goalkeeper at the football club. And that's fine. And the reason why you have an Adrian is when we give Allison a rest, Kelleher will play and Adrian will sit on the bench and deputise, like what happens week in, week out with Kelleher. But brilliant. You're quite right. The save was superb, mate. And again, the point you made at the start of that little piece when you said if we don't win 5-0 then and it's 2-1, then people look at that save. But actually, that's probably what he wants. He had an easy afternoon, really, didn't he? Apart from, like Klopp said, we allowed them to play when we were 4-0 up, and that's not good. But oh well, we won the game 5-0, and so all's good. But that will irritate him. And that will be the thing that he will speak about. That will be the thing that will be the focus of his conversation tomorrow or Monday. They'll probably give him tomorrow off because they were good and they've got a game on Wednesday, so or in the week. So yeah, I think Kelleher, fair play to him, great save and really good for his confidence.
What did you think of Nico Williams when he came out today? I mean, I know he wasn't on very long, but
listen, he did what you'd want him to do coming on, and I'm not going to suddenly change my mind and say Nico Williams is like an understudy for Trent because he needs to go out on loan. He's got a lot of development to happen in his career, and I'm not sure he's going to get that at the football club. And I remain to be convinced that he does have a long-term future at the football club. But as far as today goes, no problem with what he did, and he did really well for the final goal as well. He absolutely had Danny Rose on toast for that, didn't he? But then everybody did because that guy looked miles off the pace today, didn't he? So fair play to him. He would have enjoyed that. What I will say about him is he had quite a lot of bully boys. Twitter's reactionary wet wipes, giving him a lot of abuse from previous games, doing the world of good to come out of that say he'll feel good about himself. I think the club will look at that and say, well done to him for coming on, and he looked quite solid, didn't he? So yeah, and he got forward quite well. Is he an understudy? No, he's not. He's not an option for when we need to give Trent a break. James Milner remains that option purely out of professionalism, organisation, and a bit more savvy and know-how on the ball. Well, okay, he can't keep up in a leg race with something like the quick wingers in the game, but positionally and he knows how to draw a slide foul and things, doesn't he? So shithousery as we call it, mate. He's got plenty of that, hasn't he?
Dark art.
Yeah, the dark arts of football. And trust me, those dark arts go all the way down to grassroots level, mate. I've played and managed with some players who've got some really, really interesting ways of getting into the opposition and undermining them. Dennis Wise used to pick people up by their armpits and put all the hair under their arms, mate. And that was his tactic to wind people up. So, dark arts is a thing, mate. And anyway, Nico did okay today, mate. He wasn't on for long, but what he did pretty well, to be fair.
One thing I want to say is, rather, I'm known for going on these things, and I'm not the biggest James Milner fan starting anymore. I think he's good when you're 2-0 up or you're 1-0 up and you need to get the game under control and you don't want to concede. But every time I see him start a game, especially in central midfield, my head goes down a little bit because I think I think it's hard to say. I don't like to say his legs are gone, but his mobility isn't what he was. But he shut me up today, mate. I thought he was absolutely fantastic today, James Milner. He was. I mean, I know Milner didn't give him. I know Watford didn't give him much opposition, but I thought he was absolutely fantastic today. I thought he was the best of the three midfielders, James Milner today.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You hit the nail on the head towards the end of your piece there when you said Watford didn't offer too much. For the last hour of that game, Milner had slippers and a cigar involved, mate, because it was so easy for him. And yes, he did well, and ridiculous amount of games. I think there's a stat came out today. So he's now assisted a goal in the last 18 seasons, which is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous in itself. So yeah, he did well today. I thought he did well, and he won the ball back at important times. I would like to see him stay on at the club in some format when he's done. I'm not sure how possible that will be because football's been kind to James Milner in terms of lots of big transfer fees. So he doesn't need the money that football coaching will bring. He would do it for the love of the game as opposed to being sort of needing of a job. So hopefully we can get him involved somehow because he's a model pro. I mean, there's a still from the Liverpool Football Club going around where he's using the straps and he's got he's ripped. He's 37 years old, mate, and he's a model pro, and everyone should be looking towards him in the same way they do to Jordan Henderson. Those two guys together, because they're quite vocal. We're not a vocal side as such. Van Dijk is, but and Milner is, and Henderson is, but not the rest. So I think he's a big asset to the club, mate. And like you say, when we're playing teams that are at it, they're quick off the mark and they use the ball well. Like Milner would struggle typically against the likes of Manchester City in the middle of the park because they move the ball so well, and you need mobility and you need to be able to move with the ball. But today, Milner was great today. And to be fair, like you said, Watford made it easy on him. He didn't have a particularly difficult afternoon, did he?
I'll be honest with you, Steve. As much as I've just praised him there, I'd be a little bit concerned if he started against Man United next week. I think they'd give him the run around. But at the same time, Steve, that's the one area of the pitch right now because of the injury to Harvey Elliott and Genie leaving that I've got to worry about is that midfield because Thiago keeps picking injuries up. We all know Keita's going to pick them up. So I worry about have we made a mistake not bringing a midfielder in the summer, someone who can get in there. And I just hope that doesn't come to bite us in the arse at some point during the season. That is probably the one concern I've got this season.
I'd agree. And I think for Manchester United, the midfield, assuming everybody's available, has to be Henderson, Fabinho, and madly enough, I think Keita will play because Keita will get the likes of Matic, who sit in front of the back four, who turns as quickly as a cruise liner these days. So that's what you want. You want Keita's mobile and wants to go at people, and at times they look quite good. And then Bobby was at it again today. So Bobby playing in the position he plays in will also play in the space that anyone occupying the space in front of the opposition's back four. Bobby's in there making it difficult. You ask Jorginho and Rodri how difficult it is to play against Bobby Firmino because when we're not attacking, he's in the space they want to play in. It's really clever, really clever. So Henderson, Fabinho, and Keita, I think, is likely to be the midfield against Manchester United, and I'll be okay with that. I watched the United game today. I think we boss and win the game in midfield. I genuinely do.
What are your thoughts on? Obviously, we talk about Liverpool. What are your thoughts on United this season, and what are your thoughts on next week's game, Steve?
I'll quickly summarise it because again, I don't want to sort of get bogged down on Manchester United. They could change their manager and it wouldn't make an iota of difference because there's a massive imbalance in their team in terms of the midfield. That you can't have all those expressive players in the final third, and they've got loads of them, by the way. If you've not got the correct people sitting in front of your back four to protect it, Varane will be out for the game against Liverpool because it's an abductor injury, which is a difficult one, and the only way that heals is through rest. So I would fully expect us to get it United. United's problems are not the manager. United's problems are the people that recruited the manager and the people that have them keep the manager in place. At the end of the day, if they went and got a Conte will get a tune out of certain players for a limited period of time before falling out with the club and disappearing, because that's what he does. So I'm not really bothered. I don't see Manchester United as a long-term threat this season. I think you look at the games. We're 7 games into the season. There's four games that Manchester United fans have taken to Twitter and torrent of verbal abuse at the club because they're not doing good enough. So that's fine. That's cool. Let's hope that continues. But I do think we've got too much in midfield for them, and I would expect us to turn up there next week and turn up against them and get 3 points. We that would put them 7 points behind us in the way we're playing at the moment. We're not going to give 7 points up too easily, are we?
No, not at all. And I just hope, I know Klopp won't let them, but I just hope, it's a bit ridiculous saying this, I just hope we don't go into it overly confident because of how we won the game last season and the personnel we had at the back last season. I just hope that Liverpool don't think that they've won the game before they step on the pitch next week. I mean, I'm sure there's no danger of that, but I think United, as good as the players they are, I think Liverpool's biggest problem next week could be Liverpool not being at it, which is something that's been thrown at us the last few seasons. We seem to be, even when we were steamrolling teams, we go to Old Trafford and we didn't seem to perform. And I don't know whether that was because of the Old Trafford crowd. They were going to be back next week. So it's going to be an interesting game next week. I can see a lot of goals next week. Because both teams are full of goal scorers.
This is true. I'm looking at it thinking, I'll get your point. This Liverpool team is not the Liverpool team of last season. This Liverpool team is a team with something to prove. The massive amount of players missing for long parts of last season, they'll feel like they owe themselves something. They'll feel like they owe the club something. And now the fans are back in. They'll feel like they owe the fans something. So you say that the Brentford game was difficult because Brentford were brave, because it was like sort of the biggest game in their footballing history, without a doubt. Playing a top flight football for the first time in their entire history, and welcoming Liverpool Football Club to their ground was their biggest game in their history. So if their players and their fans can't make that an occasion and rise to it, then you'd wonder why they were involved in football in the first place. So I can kind of understand why that game went the way it did. We didn't help ourselves. But if you look at Manchester United, that's a 100-plus-year-old rivalry. If we go there and get a result and things pan out in the next few weeks as they have been, by the time Christmas comes, Manchester United could not be a factor in the title challenge. And I think we looked at Liverpool going to United last season when they rested all of their strong players against Leicester, put the youngsters in, and then brought back the big guns, as it were, to play against Liverpool, and it backfired because we spanked them 4-2 and it was on the way to taking third place. And I still can't believe we only finished 5 points behind them last season, despite them having everybody available all season, and we really didn't. We will be up for that, mate. We will go there. As I say, putting the 7-point gap is a big statement to make. I think United will still continue to drop points. We carry on the way we are. Chelsea carry on the way they are. City carry on the way we are. It's a 3-horse race, mate. That's the way I see it. And I think it's a great opportunity to go there, to go to that game next weekend and stamp our authority on our title challenge. And I would expect us to do that.
So I want to talk to you about another player as well. We've already mentioned him briefly. And we seem like we've hardly mentioned him for the guy that scored a hat-trick today. So what do you think of Bobby Firmino this season so far? I mean, I know he's had an injury and he's not played every game. But if you talk about the games that were finished, the last couple of games last season and this season again, is Bobby back, or has he found a different way of playing? Because something seems to have clicked with Bobby this season.
Again, we go back to last season. I don't think you can judge anybody on last season, and I strongly encourage Liverpool fans not to do that. Like, just kind of find a way to erase it from your memory, because it was mental. In all the years I've been following football, I've never seen a team go through that. we did. We got out the other side of it. We're into this season. We're more fluid. The defense is in place, which means our system works again now. He didn't have a system for most of last season. So I think Bobby's benefiting from the fact that we've got round pegs and round holes, and we've got quick transition when we need it. We're press resistant. We were nothing like press resistant last year. The switch isn't on that Real Madrid used so effectively in the Champions League. So in terms of Liverpool, we've got lots of different ways to mix it up now. We can go along with the long ball from left to right from Van Dijk to Salah if we want to, if the team's presses. I tweeted today, Jermaine Genius said just before half-time, what Watford need to do is go man for man, forget zonal marking, forget this, forget that, go match up Liverpool man for man, press higher up the pitch, come out. They're all the things that Liverpool Football Club want teams to do against them, and that guy's getting paid probably 6 figures a year for coming out with insight like that. It's a joke. Bobby's different. Bobby's different, mate. In answer to your question, and I was interested the way you phrased that. Bobby's certainly, for me, different player to he was 3 years ago. He's not got the same sort of verve and energy anymore, but he's still key to what we do. He's still key to taking the base out of the midfield for the opposition. I thought he was good today. Obviously, he gets his hat-trick. The commentator was right. If you add up the distance from goal for all of his goals, like 6 yards in total. But that's what guy wearing the number 9 shirt should be there to do. And that hat-trick today will do him the world of good, mate. Absolutely do him the world of good. He's just an infectious guy, isn't he? And we do love him. And he gets written off time and time and time again. The fans want Jota to play. Jota can't do Bobby's role. Jota isn't intelligent enough to play in Bobby's role. Jota, for me, is more competition for Sadio Mane than he is for Bobby Firmino, purely because of the work Bobby does when we don't have the ball and his positional sense and the link playing and all of that stuff, because he's aware of what's going on around him in a total 360-degree circumference. When you bring a wide man from the outside and you put him in the middle, the touchline's his friend. It means nobody can come from behind him, so everything he needs to do is in front of him, if that makes sense. So where Salah confronts Danny Rose today, there's very little chance anybody would be behind him because of the position he is on the pitch. When Bobby fronts up Craig Cathcart, you've got fullbacks, you've got centre midfielders, defensive centre midfielders who all come into his play, and he sees that and deals with that a lot better than Jota does. And that's no disrespect to Jota. Jota plays on the left, doing similar to what I've just said, playing with nobody behind him, and he's really effective at that. And his time will come at Liverpool Football Club. He will be a great asset to the football club. But right now, Bobby's showing a bit of form. Goals will do him the world of good for his confidence. And he's just playing differently to what he did 3 years ago. That the energy's not the same, but he's still effective.
I don't think Bobby's ever had lightning pace. I don't think he's ever been that quick. Well, he's always had his speed of thought.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether the confidence in the past 12 months, because of what's gone on with empty stadiums and maybe had a bit of self-doubt himself, that speed of thought hasn't been there. I think that's come back. I think his speed of thought is well back now. I think he knows what Salah's going to do now before Salah does, and I think he knows what Mane's going to do before Mane does, and I think Salah knows what Firmino's going to do before Firmino does it. And that was something that was so intricate to the way we played when we were at our best. And now we talk about how sometimes the media is unfair with Liverpool, and there's a lot of people now who have to write us off before we kick the ball this season. People were saying we'll finish outside the top 4. Very few people were putting us through the way, putting us up as winning the league. There's a lot of people now in the media who saying this Liverpool team's the best Liverpool team we've had in the years Klopp's been there. And I find it hard to disagree with them. I think we're playing slightly different to when we were blowing teams away 3 years ago. But as a complete unit and how we work as a machine, I don't think we've been as good as what we are right now, Steve. Just wondering, do you feel the same?
That's a hard one. I think the one that was the most pleasing on the eye was the 97-point season when we played with real swashbuckling Cavalier style. I just think of the games of Manchester City where we absolutely went to town on them and blew them out the park. This is different. We are again. I think we've forgotten how ruthlessly efficient we can be with Klopp's system. Again, something you and I have both spoken about. Our system is ruthlessly efficient, but also tremendously fragile. And last season we saw how fragile it was, but it's back and it's in place. And now we've got Gomez and Kanate in the wings. If something happens to a Van Dijk or a Matip, God forbid, we're not as exposed. And if even that breaks, Nat Phillips has proven to be more than capable of coming in there and doing the job. I don't think anyone could say that he wasn't, given the last 10 games last season when he was the senior centre-back. And he was the guy that was kind of telling Reece Williams what to do. As crazy as that sounds, it worked. So we've got 5 centre-backs in the club that can do a job. So we don't have that. We didn't have that last time. I just think our system's back, and I'll say it, keep saying it because it's how I feel. Our system makes us one of the hardest teams to play against. Manchester City are brilliant, but when Manchester City are having off days, they have off days. Liverpool's system will stop Liverpool from having the same type of off days that Manchester City will have, if that makes sense. You know, they got battered by Leicester, didn't they? Season before last, they've had a couple of close run games this year. I thought they were brilliant against Chelsea, by the way. So they've got tactical awareness as well. We've just got back the swagger, mate. We've got the swagger back. We've got the system back. All the things that we should be doing that we know we do well are all back in place. And like you said, I didn't buy into all this media stuff. I didn't buy into all the rival fans saying that Liverpool Football Club was washed and was spent force and they weren't going to accomplish anything and they're not a threat. We're 8 games into the season, or 7, 8 games into the season. So, you know, approaching 25% of the way through the season, if you like. And we haven't lost. So you couldn't ask for. You could get a little bit of a better start, but realistically, you can't get much better than what we've got. Us and Chelsea and Man City are trailblazing at the moment. All 3 clubs are flying, and it'll be really interesting. It's not fun to be in a 3-way challenge that looks like it'll go all the way to the wire. It's much more fun when you're 15 points clear at Christmas and it's plain sailing all the way into the finish line. But that might spare us on, because I think, and you do too, when we came back from lockdown, I thought we were poor because it was a case of when, not if. And I think that played on the players' minds, and I don't think they were good enough. And we suffered from that in the next season as well with the injuries. But just doing the things that our system allows us to do, just doing the things that the coaching team are getting the players to do. And you're right, mate. We look good. We're free scoring at the moment as well, which is nice. You know, we're not relying on a Mane in the 94th minute away at Villa. You know, when we're 1-0 down with 2 minutes to go, we win the game 2-1. That's brilliant. And I remember coming on the pod with you and we were all gassed by it and buzzing and, you know, oh yeah, it's superb. But when you stop and think about it, that was a hard watch because it was right to the wire, wasn't it? Now we're kind of putting ourselves in position to win games earlier on. And I think that's brilliant. So, yeah, we're back, mate. And it's our system that's making the difference.
Just something else I wanted to message to you, Steve. So normally Liverpool, when they have interviews after the game and they speak to the players, Liverpool players generally try to say, "Oh, we're not looking at our table position. We're not doing this. We just want to win every game. We just want to win each game as it comes, week in, week out." So Mo Salah today was asked, "What's it like being?" And he basically came out and said, "We want to win the league and we want to win the Champions League today." Under sort of hushed breath, he said the Champions League one. Do you think the Liverpool players are out with something to prove this year?
Yeah.
I think, and you know what? Don't get me wrong, I like it when Henderson comes out and he goes, "We don't look at the league, we're not really bothered, we just come out and we play a game." But you know what? It really got me fired up today when Salah came out and he's like, "Oh, I want to win the league and I want to win the Champions League." And it was like, he means business this season, Salah. He really, really does.
Well, do you remember what Klopp said when we won the league? He said next season we won't be defending the league, we'll be attacking the league. Do you remember him saying that?
Yeah.
And then he lost half his team, and his ability to run his system and play the way he wanted to play went with it. So I think we've waited 12 months to see that happen, for that to come to fruition. And I think that the feeling within the club is go and win it rather than let other things happen. So be in charge. If we won every game from now till the end of the season, we win everything, right? And that's a surefire thing. So by being positive and being on the front foot and saying we're going to go and win it means that We're not sitting back waiting to see what happens. We're taking the fight to teams. I said in a pod recently on another channel, our opposition should be very wary of Liverpool because as a club, we can't wait for the next game. We're itching to get back out there on the pitches. You can see it in the players. You just want to get out there and play the next game. That makes Liverpool very dangerous because that means that mentality and the intensity that we had when we did 196 points over 2 seasons. That what's going on in there is totally back and it's good to see.
I think Liverpool under Klopp play better when they've got a lot of games. I think Liverpool struggle when they've got big gaps in between games.
Mm-hmm. Intensity. We couldn't do double training sessions last season because we were playing Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday. There were days, there were weeks because of protecting players. They didn't train particularly well at all. Now that's all back, and Liverpool's strength comes from. Do you remember the Everton fans saying you need to check out what they're feeding them because they've got some kind of drug in their diet that allows them to be fit and strong all the time, all season? How can they do that? That's just intensity. That's just building on intensity, making them strong, making them confident, making them fit. Look at the condition Mo Salah's in. Look at his physique. So are we supposed to believe that Mo Salah goes in the gym on his own and makes himself like that? No, he doesn't. Because if the rest of the team went around pulling their shirts off when he scored goals, there'd be 4 or 5 of them donning physiques like that.
Easy.
Because we brought in specialist people from Bayern Munich to help with the fitness regime because the Premier League's really exhausting and really physically demanding. But we've got a team that likes and relishes and plays off the back of that. So it's really cool. It's really good to see that they thrive off it. You're quite right. If you give them 2 weeks in between games, that's 2 weeks to go off the boil. Liverpool want fixtures coming at them thick and fast. With the centre-back situation I mentioned before, we can afford for FA Cup and Carabao Cup games to come in there because Ox will need to play, Thiago will need to play, Nico Williams will play, Simicast will play, Origi will play, Jota will play, Minamino will play. I'm basically giving you a second team there, mate. So
basically, will play. Gomez will play.
yeah, exactly. So you look at that and you think Curtis Jones needs games. So let's do away with this depth thing. We've been a little bit unlucky that we had a sort of 2 or 3 injuries in the same position right now, but that's not unique to Liverpool Football Club, and that's not a Liverpool Football Club problem that should be levelled at Liverpool and Liverpool only, if that makes sense. We're fine. We want to get these games. We want to play these games. We're fired up for them. We're motivated. Give us 3 games a week, mate. Give us the double training sessions. Put the intensity back in the league, and you'll see the Liverpool come in their A game most weeks.
It's great watching Liverpool against here, isn't it? It wasn't last season, but it's really good watching them again this season, isn't it?
Hard to watch. Remember, we come on pods, you, me, and Jamie when the 3 of us were doing things, and then obviously Powley joined us as well, and maybe we'll see those guys on this channel at some point. But we would sit there, and before we went live, we would struggle. We would struggle to collect ourselves to go and do a stream, to go and do a podcast. But you have to report the bad stuff as well as the good stuff, don't you? So seeing Liverpool the way they are this season, mate, is really cool and enjoyable. And today's game was really enjoyable. There were times last season, mate, it was a ridiculously difficult watch. Everton, Chelsea, Manchester City, Fulham, West Brom, all games like that, mate, were awful to watch. That's not the same this year. As I said before, the intensity's back in the side. They are relishing going out there. They are wanting to be on the pitch. I'll bet you last season they could have done with football being stopped through COVID because it didn't fancy it, because it wasn't fun. Now it's fun, and all of the vigour and the enthusiasm and the willingness to win is there. And we're in the competitions we're in, as Mo Salah said, mate, to win them. We're not just there to make up the numbers. We are good enough to finish anywhere you like in the top 4. Good enough or bad enough, should I say. We are good enough to finish anywhere you like in the Champions League. European teams don't like playing Liverpool because of the way we're set up. If we had the team we had today in the quarter-final against Real Madrid last season's Champions League, we played Chelsea in the semi-final, not Real Madrid.
And you know 100%. What, Steve? I think we may as well. We might do well in the English Cup competitions this year, because you look at our squad there now, I think we've got a squad there that can. This might be the first season, I think, where I think, you know what, we might do all right in the English competitions. Yeah, I'm not saying we'll win them, but I think we might go quite far now, like the League Cup and the FA Cup this season. And you only have to look at our centre back options. Gomez is, when he's playing, I believe he's the best centre back in England. I believe he's the best English centre back. That's how highly I rate Joe Gomez. And you've got one of the best young French centre backs who, never mind, can't get a game. Never mind, can't get a game. They can't get minutes out of them because of how well Matip and Van Dijk are playing. And who would have thought Matip would be able to go this far into a season?
He's great, isn't he?
Mate, when he goes on them little runs and he doesn't know, it looks like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, he's boss, mate. Arguably, as good, every bit as good as Van Dijk's been this season as well, with the added addition of stepping into the opposition's half. Just brilliant. And I said before the season, I always thought he was number 2 centre half. I didn't see Canate getting in front of him. Listen, we know he has fitness problems, and there will be games when Canate and Gomez will get inside. It's up to them to take the shirts off him. It's very much a meritocracy. If you're playing well, you keep your shirt. Canate is quite capable. Gomez is quite capable of getting themselves into a position to have a run in the team. But right now, Joe Matip's as good as anybody. In fact, he's probably better than most of them. And he's on a par with Virgil van Dijk because he's doing so much more with the ball in terms of building play. Van Dijk is Van Dijk, and what Van Dijk does is priceless to the football club. But, you know, and because he's alongside Van Dijk, he feels like he can step into midfield. And when he does, Fabinho just shifts across to sit in the pocket that he's left behind him. That's what I'm talking to you about. The system working really well. That's the things that we've not been able to do for sort of over a year. But it's back, and it's huge, and it makes Liverpool Football Club a pleasure to watch.
I think that's the perfect time to wrap up there, Steve. I think we've done it long enough there. A good chat. Enjoyed the catch up, enjoyed the results, and enjoyed hopefully today. Hopefully the way we're going to enjoy the rest of the season.
And we'll be back midweek because it's Champions League midweek, and we'll let you guys know as and when the show's coming out what we're going to do. But we'll see a lot more from Copt going forward with special guests. The podcast community is known to both Ian and I, so we'll see lots of people from other pods on here over time. Hopefully get a few special guests on. Yeah, we're back. Really enjoyable, and looking forward to what comes in the coming weeks and months, mate.
Glad to be back, Steve.